this video, we're going to take a look at how to edit the pages on your hike site. So the majority of the time you're going to be working in the greeting page, but we will go over the other pages just briefly so that you can see what other information you can change as well. We'll start by doing that, and then we'll loop back around to the greeting page. So the home page is where you can change information on the participant center. So the participant center is the area that each of your hikers is assigned when they sign up on your hike site. So this is their area where they can go and manage the pieces of their hike. There is a little bit of text when they first log in, and by clicking the configure button, you're actually able to change that text here. So whenever you open up one of these boxes, you're going to be coming to what they call the WYSIWYG editor. This is where you would type the information that you want your hikers to see. In this case, I'm going to leave it as is because it says everything that I would like, and I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom where you can see this bunch of boxes with a bunch of different information in here. We're going to leave this alone because we actually don't want to change any of this information. So in this case, once I've updated the text in the WYSIWYG editor, I'm just going to go save and finish. The next area that you can customize is the default personal and default team pages. These two pages act really similarly because they're basically the same. These pages are assigned to each of your hikers when they register to be a hike site. So this is the page that becomes their own. They have the capability of updating the text and the pictures in the back end, but until they do, it becomes a defaulted page. So this is where you would change what the default looks like. I'll just show you the one because the second one will be the same. So we'll use the default personal page. We would just click on the configure button to be rerouted to where we would make these changes. So possibly you want to change the text that would be the default text. So just keeping in mind, anytime you come to one of these text boxes, if you want to enlarge your working area, just hover your mouse over the bottom right hand screen where you see these three lines until you see that your mouse has changed into a double-headed arrow. Click and then drag your screen outwards. This will increase this working area. So maybe you want to add some text here to make it a little bit more personal to your particular site. That's completely fine to do and not a problem. So you would just click into the WYSIWYG editor, and here you could type whatever it is that you wanted. I'm not going to type anything because I'm okay with it being what it is now. Maybe you want to change what the default picture is on each of these sites. This is possible to do too. So what you could do is either choose a file, which will allow you to choose a file from your desktop, or you can actually search for an image in the library. I'll show you how to add images to the library in a little while, but for now I'm just going to click that button because I've already loaded the picture in there that I would like to use. So when I click on that button, it takes me into the library of the site. So in this case, I can see that I want my blue hikers. I'm going to use the button here under the actions column called select, and I'm just going to hit it. At this point, you can see that the page will refresh and that image has now been loaded. So on my default pages for my hikers, this will be the picture that is assigned to each of those hikers. When you're completed doing what you're doing in here, just scroll all the way down to the bottom and click Save. When you're completely done in this area, scroll all the way down to the bottom and click Finished. You'll be rerouted back to the main page where you can edit the next area. Before we go into the greeting page, I'm actually going to flip over and show you the custom pages. So click on the tab at across the top of the box that says Custom Pages. You'll see two pages in here. One is the Contact Us and one is the Sponsors. So in this case, I'm going to go and hit the Edit button behind the Sponsors. You're routed into a page that we've already populated some content on here. You may want to edit this to add your own sponsors. So I'm just going to increase the size of the working area by dragging out along the bottom corner. And you can see now that I have text in here with some pictures. Perhaps you have a sponsor's logo that you would want to add yourself. So you could click into the area that you want to work in, and just know that you can move the lining of the text any way that you want by using these buttons here. So maybe you want to center the text the same way that we have here. You could type in here anything that you wanted as well. So in this case, I'm going to add local sponsors. You can change it so that the text looks more similar to what's here by going into these formats here, changing the font size, and perhaps you want to bold the text. It's entirely up to you how you would like to make this look. When you're done typing, you can add a photo. This is done in the same way that you will add photos on all of the different sites. So I'm not going to show you here how to add a photo, but I will show you in the next step when we're talking about the greeting page. Just know that all photos are added by clicking this insert/edit image button, which looks like a little tree. But for now, we're not going to go into that step. When you're finished editing here, you would click Save and Finish. If you'd like to edit the Contact Us area, all you'll need to do is click Edit beside the Contact Us page. You'll then be rerouted into that particular page. In this case, you can see that we have some funny boxes here with some brackets around them. This is a special type of code that's linking this piece of text up to a different area. I'll show you that in another step. But just know that when you're looking at the front end of your page, it's not going to look like this. It's going to be populated with the name and information of your primary height coordinator. If you would like to change this or delete this out of there, that's fine. That's not a problem. Just take your text, highlight it, and hit the delete button or the backspace key. If you'd like to leave it alone because that primary height coordinator is correct, then just leave it and you don't need to do anything else with it. You can click into this text editor anywhere that you'd like and start typing if you'd like to add different coordinators. Just know that you can always adjust the size of the text or the style of the text by highlighting it and then selecting any of these buttons along the top. You can change the size here. You can change the font family here. Perhaps you'd like to put some styles on it, or maybe you'd like to give it a different type of look. That's entirely up to you and just able to be determined by playing around with it and what your personal preference would be. When you're finished here, just hit Save and Finish. We're now going to go in and edit the greeting page. This is the largest editing that you'll do in this part of the website. To do this, you'll have to make sure that you're in the TeamRaiser Pages tab. Beside the greeting page, you'll click Configure in the Actions column. From there, you'll be rerouted to this page. The first thing that you're going to see is this series of boxes that's already been populated with a bunch of information. You can edit this information if it isn't correct, but what you'll need to know is that some of this information is linking to different areas. So we would always want to keep it populated with similar information. So when we looked at the Customize Us, the Contact Us page, under the Custom Pages, we had those funny boxes around the bracketed text where it was showing your primary coordinator's name. This is where you would change the information of who your primary coordinator is. This area is linking to that particular piece of text so that when your users look at the front end of the page, they see this information, not those funny text boxes. So if you delete this out of here, you need to make sure that you add something else in, or else that's going to show up as an empty space on your page. This information up here is also populated based on the information given to us during your hike registration. Maybe you've decided to change things since then, so just feel free to go in and tweak this information, but again, make sure that you have something in here. Now, the one thing that I want to point out is, beside the event city, we actually have populated a different series of text. We don't use that for the city. We actually use this to give you a little bit of your users a little bit of information about your hike site. So if you change that, just know that it's not exactly accurate to be the event city, but that's how we've managed it. When you scroll down, you're going to see your WYSIWYG text editor. Again, you can make this larger by clicking and dragging this box open. I like to make it fairly large so that it's easier to see what I'm working with. So the first thing that you're going to see here is just a headline that says, "Welcome to Hike for Hospice Palliative Care." You may want to change this to be something a little bit more specific to your site. So possibly you want it to say, "Welcome to the Hike for Hospice Palliative Care for," and enter in your organization's name. This is entirely up to you. This page is for you to make what you want of it. These are the bracketed text that I was telling you about a few seconds ago. So where you see this, you know that it's linking up to this box up here that says event date. So we can change this information in here by clicking in here and updating. So we know that this isn't our hike date, so we want to just update the text here. So again, it's just as easy as clicking in this box and retyping the information that you want. When you're ready, all you need to do is click into your WYSIWYG editor and start typing. There's a number of different things that you can do here. You can add photos, you can add text, you can even add different little elements like this here, which is a countdown to the days of your event. This is entirely optional. You don't need to keep any of this stuff, but it's just stuff that you may like to have. Adding text to this box is easy. It's the same as what you would do in a Word editor or a text editor. So maybe we want to add a note to our hike participants that our hike is going to be rain or shine. So we're going to find where we would like this on our site. In this case, I'm going to put it right below all of this information. So I'm just going to click, maybe give myself a little bit of extra room by hitting the enter button a couple of times. And I'd like to make this fairly large piece of text. So I'm going to go and choose that I want it to be a heading. I'm going to click in here again, and I'm going to say rain or shine. Maybe I'll add a couple of little exclamation marks. Maybe I'd like to make this even bigger than what it is here. I can do this by clicking the % and choosing whatever % of text I want. So this is just for you to play around with. Now, what you would also be able to do is change the text color. So this is all done up here in this area here. So maybe you'd like to make this stick out, and click that, and we'll change that text to red. So it's entirely up to you to make of this page what you want it to be. In this case, I like this, so I'm going to leave it alone. The thing to remember when you're working in this area is that you should save often. So to save your work, what you'll need to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. So I just want to point out there are two different scrolling buttons here. So make sure that to scroll within the page in general, you're using the one that's on the outside. If you're using this one, you're scrolling down the page of the text editor, not necessarily the whole page. So you want to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you want to hit save. This is going to save the changes that you just made. You can then go in and continue your edits, but you'll notice that the text that you added is now going to be there permanently. Maybe you would like to add a photo to your site. This is done by clicking this button here, which is the Insert/Edit Image button. There's a step that you need to do before you can add the image though, so I'm going to show you that now. That's using and uploading the library of the site. So to do this, what you're going to have to do is scroll all the way to the top of the site where you see this black bar. You're going to see the library menu item, And what you're going to do is hover over this and you'll see the image library. I always like to open this up by right-clicking on it and hitting Open Link in New Tab. That just opens it in a different area so I can easily toggle back and forth between the two areas. When you get to this area, you're going to see a listing of all of the images that you actually have in your library. Maybe you'd like to add a new one. This is easy done by just clicking the Upload Image button, then hitting the Choose File button, and navigating to where you have your photo that you'd like to load on the page. So in this case, I've saved this image that I know I want to add on the front end of my page. I'm going to double click it here, and I can see that it's now loaded into this area. What I want to do from here is go down, select the security category, choose my site's security category, and I can put in a graphic title here too if I wanted, which is just if that image didn't show up on a user's computer, it would just give a bit of a graphic as to what it is that they should be seeing. And you can also put in some keywords for if you're trying to search in the library. Again, these are totally optional, so I'm going to leave them blank. When I'm done, I'm going to hit the Upload button. You can now see that my image is showing up in my library. So this is a good thing. We can go back and add it to our page now. So back in our greeting page, we're going to scroll all the way down to the text editor area again, and we're going to find where it is that we would like to put that picture. So maybe I would like to put it here. So I'm just going to click at the end of the last line of text. I'm going to hit Enter, and maybe I would like my image centered. I'm not going to worry too much about the placement right now because we can change this afterwards. But I am going to click here now in this little image of the tree, and you're going to see that your image library box comes up. So in this case, I want to hit the Browse Image Library. And I can see all the pictures that are available to me. So this was the image that I determined I wanted on my page. Notice that you can also click down if you're not seeing all of your images right here. You can click down and change the page, or maybe you'd like to type in that hint that you put there and hit search, and it'll help to narrow down your photos. That's helpful if you get a lot of images in your library. So I'm going to click on that image, and I can see now that it's going to be in my picture editor here. So what I want to do is click Insert. I can also change the width and the height if I know it's going to be way bigger than what I want it. In this case, I am going to do this. I'm going to change the width to about, maybe I'll put it at 400 pixels. When I click this Constrain button, it means that it's going to change the height to be an automatic number that keeps this picture in proportion. I'm going to click Insert, and I can see now that my image is where I want it to be. It's also the perfect size. This is something that I've played around with quite a bit, so I know that that's a good sized image. But maybe if I didn't know that that was going to be what I wanted it to look like, I could change it just by selecting the image, hitting the image of the tree again. You'll be taken back into this page where you can change it once more. So I will change it to 200 this time, just so you can see the difference. It's now made that image considerably smaller. So when I'm done this, I'm going to hit Save. So scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to save that image. Another thing that you may want to add on your picture is a map to the location of your hike. This is something that you'll need to do in a different way and can be a little bit more complicated. So the first thing that you'll need to do is go to Google Maps. When you get to Google Maps, you can find the address of your park or your location for your hike just by typing it into the top corner. I've already found mine, so I'm not going to show you that step. But what you need to know is when you get to the location of your site, you will see these buttons along here. It's this share button that you're going to be concerned with. When you click this share button, you're going to come to this page here. You can either be on the Share Link tab or the Embed map, we want to make sure that we're working on the embed map area. You can change the size of your map right here. So I'm going to choose small because I don't want it to be too big on my site. Then the next thing I need to do is I need to click into this area here and I need to copy and paste this text. Most of the time just clicking in here will highlight it blue, but sometimes you may actually need to click, highlight, and drag your mouse there. From here, what you're going to do on your keyboard is hit the Control and C button at the same time. This is making a copy of that link. From there, you're going to flip back over to your website. Now this area, this map, that embed link, can't go into your WYSIWYG editor. What you need to do here is up in the top corner, you're going to use this button that says Use Plain Text Editor. This is where you're going to edit the HTML, which is computer coding. So this is going to look a little bit confusing to those of you who aren't so familiar with what HTML is, but just know that you can figure it out. So once you hit over into that area, you'll be rerouted to this page that looks quite different. This area can look a little bit overwhelming because each of these different bracketed pieces of text are actually a different code that's telling your website what it's going to look like. So what you need to do is kind of scroll down and find the area where you want to add this text. In this case, I determined that I wanted it to go below the event location city. Now what I'm going to do is find in this text event location city. So I see it right here and I see the end of the code. So I need to go to the end of this line, and what I want to do is actually hit the enter button. I'm going to hit it a couple of times because it really doesn't matter how much space you have in here. It'll close itself after you hit save. So I'm just going to give myself lots of space so I can see what I'm doing. So we've already done a copy of the link from Google Maps. We now need to paste this link. So we're going to hit on our keyboard the Control button and the V. And that's going to put that great big long string of coded text that we took from Google Maps in here. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom now, and I'm going to hit save. If I scroll to that area again, now what I want to do is go back to the WYSIWYG editor. So to do that, up here in the top corner is this little page with a pencil and what looks like a bluish green ball in the background. You want to hit this because it's actually going to take you back to the WYSIWYG editor. From here, when you scroll down, you'll now see that your map is embedded into your text. So perhaps you want this to be centered. Now this adds a little bit extra step when you're here in the code. So what you're going to need to do, again, I've already navigated over to the HTML editor, but there is a special piece of code that you need to type before you can actually paste the map link. So in this case, I'm just going to type it here, but I will put a link to it so that you can actually copy and paste it. So it's similar to what you see above, where you go P space style equals quotation mark text dash align colon another space center. Now remember, you have to spell center the American way, and a semicolon followed by another quotation mark and a bracket. From there you can put a space, and you would paste the link to your map again. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to copy it again. Make sure I go to the embed map. I want to just hit Control C just as a reminder of how to do this. I then want to make sure that I'm behind this text style that I've just put in here, and I'm going to go Control V. And now all you'll need to do is close that bracket by going at the very end of it, one of those triangle brackets again. You want to do the backslash, the P, and then another one of those brackets. So this is actually going to save this on the front of your page in a centered format. So I'm just going to go down, go save. And then I'm going to flip back over to the WYSIWYG editor so I can show you what I mean. So now, instead of having that be to the left-hand side of your page, it's actually centered nicely underneath this text below. So it's a little bit complicated, but if you just follow those steps that I just showed you, it's not too bad. So now you have your page set up the way you want it. I just want to make one small note that if when you flip over and look at your front side, the front side of your page, if some of your images aren't lining up correctly, it's because you actually need to give them more space between the text and where you've placed the image. So to change the alignment of your images, you should just have to click on them and click any of these buttons. So if you wanted to go to the right or to the left or centered, just press these buttons. But if it doesn't actually appear on the front end of the page the way you want it to look, that's what you would need to do, is just make sure that you click and add yourself some more space in between those areas. So when you're done that and everything's lined up well, the one thing that you really need to be paying attention to is proofreading. So just wanted to show you how easy it is to work in this area and actually make typos. So just make sure that you give it one extra set of eyes before you make it go live. So just to make that note that it is easy enough when you work with these areas to not notice mistakes. So it's always a great idea to have a friend or another coworker come and just take a quick look for you. So I'm just going to hit save, and from here I'm going to show you how you can easily access the front end of the page. So when you scroll down here, you'll see that number 16 is publish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over the publish area. I'm going to use the right button of my mouse, and I'm going to open up this tab in a new, open up this link in a new tab. From there, I'm just clicking on the new tab to route you over to this area. This TeamRaiser entry point, number 2 here, actually has the link to your page. So instead of having to go and find your link every time you want to check out the front end of your page, because you're going to be jumping back and forth quite frequently, basically it's just as easy to do it this way, and then highlight it, go Control C, open up a new tab in your browser, Control V, and hit enter. And this way you'll be able to check out your the front end of your page. So that's pretty much the majority of everything that you'll need to know for editing your page. You can continue to work on this as much as you need to, and make your page look like what it is that you want it to be. So when you're looking at the front end of your page, you'll see that there's these 4 slider images that we have at the top here. This is something that you can actually change based on photos from your own site. So in the link, I'm going to put the size of the image that you'll need. So you need to make sure that if you are going to change these photos, they are a specific size. So I won't go into details about how to change that, because that's something you can do on your own. But how you would change these images once you've actually decided on what new images you're going to put in here is to go back to the image library. So when you're in the image library, you'll see again the listing of all of the pages or all of the photos rather that you've uploaded into your library. So you're going to see that these images correspond to those particular slider images. So what you need to do is just note that this part of the photo is the name of the photo. If you're going to update these photos, you have to make sure that you've named your photo with this exact name, or else it won't know how to link up to the actual photo that you're going to change. So this number here is the number of your TeamRaiser. So this number can be found right up here in this link, and it can also be found by going to the TeamRaiser list, finding your current year's event, and noting that the particular ID is right here. So again, the naming convention for any new photos has to be slide dash either 1, 2, 3, or 4, corresponding to the name of the slide that you're wanting to change, dash the ID of your current event. So when you've got your photo named correctly, you can actually go into the photo for this year's event. So in this case, it's 1754 is the ID for the site that I'm working on. I would hit edit, and all I would need to do is go here to choose file and choose the photo that I have that I've renamed to this exact same thing, slide-1-1754, and I would choose it, and then all I would need to do is hit save. Now just note that this is going to take a little while to refresh. It won't be an automatic thing. So wait a while. It can even take as long as a day for the server to go through a refresh and have your photos changed here. So that is something that is possible for you to do.